Hongfei, the Trust Square blockchain hub, opened its doors in April here in the prestigious Bahnhofstrasse in Zurich. We have the Swiss National Bank just next door. How are you involved in this project?
Oh yeah, I'm personally very. I have to thank for Daniel for inviting me to be here to join the opening ceremony. And secondly, NEO is also invested in a project that is also funded by Daniel. It's called Valid. So yeah, I'm kind of involved with Trust Square and also Daniel's own projects. Yeah.
So what are your specific plans and hopes for this project? Because it's a significant move to set up in the financial hub of Zurich.
Yeah. I just, when I entered this building, I saw the tag. It says blockchain Swiss made, and Swiss made is really famous in other industries, like especially for watches. So I think blockchain is like it's also like watch. It's a kind of very sophisticated machine. You need to be very precise with everything. And Switzerland is also famous for its financial industry. It's a hub in Europe. So there's no better place to run a business of blockchain in this industry than Switzerland in Europe. Yeah.
So are you actually planning to cash in and invest as well, or maybe set up your offices here?
This is my first time here. So this time I need to get the feeling about the city, about the country, and I will decide next. Yeah, definitely Switzerland, Zurich will be one of the best choice to run a business. If NEO want to tap into the European market, we definitely will consider Zurich and Switzerland.
What would be so attractive from your point of view as a Chinese, blockchain person, investor to set up here in Zurich? Is it the financial stability, the political environment, or the beautiful green nature that we have here?
Yes, you're absolutely right. All these factors we are considering that. Switzerland, as far as I know, is very friendly to cryptocurrencies, and the regulation is flexible but also stable and crypto-friendly. And the talent here, we have so many talents here. We have the best universities here, the ETH, Zurich, the University of Zurich. I just did a meetup yesterday, and they asked so many good questions. So the talents is also one of the factors we're considering. And also, if we want to connect with the mainstream financial institutions, there's no better place than Zurich. Yeah.
You are dubbed China's Mr. Blockchain and very famous in the cryptocurrency space as well in Asia. What is your own definition of blockchain, and how does it maybe compare with a European definition of blockchain?
Okay, that's an interesting question. My definition of blockchain, I may take an hour to answer that question, but I'll make it short. So from the technical point of view, blockchain is kind of like a distributed database, but from the economical point of view, it's much bigger than that. It's an institutional technology. It will change how people collaborate with each other. It will change the boundary of a company, of firms. It's a new economic infrastructure. So with NEO, we are building an open network for the future economy. We call it smart economy. So I do believe blockchain, together with AI, with big data, with other new technologies, will construct the infrastructure for the future economy. Yeah.
For blockchain, what are your plans for NEO here in Switzerland, and are you planning to work with local partners, other companies, or maybe the universities that you mentioned, EPFL and ETH students here to cultivate, the education, blockchain, and also maybe invest here?
Yeah, there are several ways we can connect with local community. With NEO, we just did a reorg. So we have the NEO Foundation on top, and we have 3 subsidiaries. One is called NEO Global Development. They will hire developers to improve the protocol, and they will do promotions to organize meetups or conferences. So NGD, or NEO Global Development, can have an office here. That's one way. And we have a second entity. It's called New Global Capital. It's a registered private fund in Singapore, and the main target is to invest in blockchain projects. And we can also invest in those projects that is originated from here. And also we have a charity that's called OBF, or Open Blockchain Foundation. The goal of this foundation is to support research on blockchain, the technical, all this technical stuff, to work with academia. So that's why we prefer to do like meetups in universities, so we can be more close with those professors, students. Yeah, so there are different ways we can get involved with Zurich, the community here.
And student exchange would be very important as well to really nurture the young talent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now here in Switzerland we have a city, Zug,
Yeah.
which is also famous for attracting
It is.
crypto players and blockchain companies. Have you heard of it, and do you
Sure,
have plans to go there?
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I will visit Zug tomorrow. Yeah, and to feel to have an initial feeling about the city. Is it correct to call it a city?
Absolutely.
Okay,
In Switzerland, you don't need a lot of inhabitants to be called a city.
Okay,
So basically, is there some competition between this new blockchain hub and the famous Zurich Bahnhofstrasse to maybe set up your office here one day, or going to Zug?
We will consider. We have different considerers. Yeah. The main point will be regulation. Yeah, if we will see which part have more flexible regulation, because by the end of the day, to connect with the real world, we need to be the blockchain need to be regulated. Yeah.
And the community, and also the attractive taxation that Zug has.
Sure. Yes.
So if you compare the development of blockchain and the whole ecosystem, China versus Switzerland, where does China stand and where does Switzerland stand? Is one leaping forward much far ahead, or are they kind of running in parallel right now, the two countries?
I think we are heading different directions, or we have different modes of development.
What is the difference in the development mode, or the differences that you see between the two systems?
Chinese developers, they're pretty good at implementation and the engineering part, but we do lack of the open source culture, and we do lack of very advanced research, academic research on blockchain. So it's I think it's quite strong here. So it will be a complement to each other. That's why we're considering to work with academia here.
In China, you definitely do not lack hardworking people and sleepless nights and not a lot of holidays, but it's more the infrastructure and the education system that is maybe a little bit behind at this point.
Yeah, we need to be in China. We need to be more creative.
Do you see that change, like Chinese universities, the very famous ones, for example, Tsinghua, Renmin, Jiaotong, are they catching up with this development?
They definitely are. Yeah. As far as I know, those universities they either already had or are planning to set up a kind of a blockchain center or blockchain hub in their campus. So yeah, they're really into blockchain. Yeah.
It's not easy though, because in China you have, on the one hand side, the strategy Made in China 2025, where the government is really pushing for innovation and IT, blockchain systems as well. But on the other hand side, you have regulators cracking down. How difficult or easy is it for you to operate there at the moment?
I think we need to separate the technology itself and the assets, the bubble, the speculation over those crypto assets. So it's quite different. After the regulation last September, a lot of scam or shady projects, they stopped operation. But those people, they are really developing the technology themselves, are still in the industry and still doing stuff, working hard. So I don't think the policy is necessarily bad. For now, it's everything. ICO and crypto exchange had been cracked down, and it's defined as illegal activities in China. But developing technology is still encouraged. So we're still heavily invested in developing the technology behind NEO. Yeah.
And what kind of technologies are you aiming at exactly? If you can name 3 or 4, new technologies that you are developing right now.
There are so many. Yeah, like the consensus mechanism. We're always looking at all those upcoming new consensus mechanism. We're also looking at how to do on-chain governance, how people with new tokens can manage the network by themselves. Also, we are looking at new cryptography schemes that can protect privacy, but also eliminate those criminal activities or anonymity. Yeah.
You mentioned privacy, but in China, privacy is difficult when you have the big companies like Tencent and Alibaba, sending private data to the government, and also the government, beefing up the surveillance of its citizens. How is that working and playing out for you?
I think different countries have different regulations, and we're based in China. So we are using blockchain to protect personal privacy. I think there are many big giant in China, like Baidu, and Financial. They have a lot of data about the people, but they don't really. The users themselves are not in control of their own data. So we are building a new network. It's called Ontology, to help people to manage their own data, their own identity, and those trusted data linked behind the ID.
Are you worried that maybe at some point, the government will scrutinize your activities more and demand this personal data to be sent to them?
Blockchain is a decentralized or distributed system. It's not controlled by one entity. So we're only doing the technical part. So people can manage their own data. If by law they have to submit their data to some organization, it depends on the law. It's not a technical problem. It's more like a legal problem.
I read that by the year 2020, you're hoping to be the #1 blockchain platform. I don't know if this is in China or in the world.
It's in the world, yeah.
Wow, and
yeah,
how
it's an
are
ambitious
you?
Goal, yeah.
Exactly, you're very ambitious, Hongfei. How are you planning to achieve that?
We will achieve that in by competing with other blockchains in 3 dimensions.
Who are your main competitors, by the way?
I think it will be Ethereum, it will be EOS, and other blockchains that are built as a platform for distributed applications or DApps. Yeah.
And how do you plan to become the #1 blockchain platform in the world?
There will be 3 dimensions to compete with. The first one is technology. So we are investing in technology, in implementing it, also those academic research. And the second part will be the ecosystem. NEO is doing pretty well. We had a lot of developers from US, from North America, from Europe and other parts in the world, and they're building a lot of DApps. And also the third dimension will be governance and compliance solutions. And we also do believe we have a better governance model, and we are aiming to build a compliant-ready blockchain. To be compliant, to be able to link the physical world with the blockchain world. Yeah.
How concerned are you about the bubble at this stage?
We are very much like the internet or dot-com bubble in 1998, 1999. So yeah, I think that the bubble is about the asset, about those tokens. If we can we can use the metaphor. It's like a cup of beer. Today we have this kind of level of bubble and this level of beer. But I do believe the container will be much bigger in the future.
So with this amount and market value that is, being traded right now, how close are we to that bubble, and how much beer is still left?
I think the highest, the peak, the whole market had peaked several months ago, and it dropped dramatically in the last few months.
So that was it? That was the bubble already?
I don't know. I don't really understand the market itself. I seldomly do trading myself, so I'm not.
Does anybody actually understand the market rationale?
It's like every other financial market. Nobody have
Nobody can really predict what is happening.
Yes, otherwise he will be the richest people in the world. Yeah.
You earlier said that regulation is a good thing. What is your view as a Chinese, blockchain player on US and EU regulation?
Regulation is a good thing. Depends on what is your design goal or your philosophy of blockchain. So if you want blockchain to be anonymous, to be anti-censorship, probably regulation is not a good thing. But if you want to do real business on top of blockchain, you want to connect the mainstream financial world with the blockchain, then you definitely need a regulation. Yeah, so we at NEO, our philosophy is to serve for the real economy. So we welcome regulation. Yeah.
Serving the real economy. What are you planning to achieve in China? Are you planning, to open new centers, new offices, and basically boost the sustainable development, offer young people new jobs, also in, other provinces in China, like the western part, which is much poorer? What are your bigger goals?
Our bigger goal is to minimize the cost of trust in the world, not necessarily in China. So when the cost of trust is minimized, we will see a lot of different trades, different transactions emerge. We will even probably will see new business models. And in China, we are hiring developers to improve NEO itself, and also we are working with universities to do research. Yeah.
How did you yourself actually get into blockchain and cryptocurrencies? Did you have contacts in China, or did you read on the internet? How did you get into this whole thing?
I came across Bitcoin in 2011. That's fairly early, and I was really fascinated by the idea, and I did a lot of research on Bitcoin, and I bought my first Bitcoin in 2012 at $10.
Ahead of the pack.
You
must be a multi-billionaire
It's a good investment, but I really regret I didn't buy more. Yeah.
You'll be the richest man in China, even richer than Jack Ma of Alibaba or Wang Xianlin of Wanda.
If I buy a lot of Bitcoin at that time, yeah.
Now, globally, what kind of regulation would you like to see in that case?
I think for Bitcoin, it's quite different from the traditional regulation. We need international collaboration to efficiently regulate the blockchain world. So a blockchain from day one, it's already global. So I often met people on the plane. They are in the business, in the blockchain industry. That's unseen in other industries. So the blockchain from day one, everybody is like traveling around, and their users, their communities are spread across the world. So we do need international collaboration.
Everybody wants to jump onto this hype. It's like a wild, wild west at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Are you scared by that, or are you fascinated?
I'm excited. I'm excited by that. Yeah, it's a very interesting place. Yeah.
But can everybody make profits with that? If people don't understand, they might make huge losses, or they just want to jump on the ship but don't really know where it's sailing to.
That's why I said we need to separate the asset bubble with the technology itself. We all know that internet is internet, or the technology behind the internet is huge for people, for human beings. But if you bought some .com stock back to 1999, you will lose money. Yeah. So invest wisely. Yeah.
As we just mentioned, there are so many players in the crypto world, in the blockchain sphere. Do you see any consolidation trends? For example, you buying another company?
Not really. We are not trying to acquire a company or something, but I do think we need more interaction between different projects. So cross-chain interoperability is a very important technology in the future. So different blockchains, they can be linked together to form like an internet of blockchains. Yeah.
And with so many players in this world, I mean, you must have such a fierce competition.
Yes,
do you
it
sleep
is.
at all, Hongfei?
Do I fear? No.
Sleep. Do you get enough sleep?
Do I get enough sleep? I get a lot of sleep in plane when I was traveling. Yeah. So I can sleep on the train, on the plane, and I sleep pretty well. Yeah.
It's a good excuse to go on a business trip when you can sleep afterwards.
Yeah, because if you do not do those market tradings, so you will not worry about those price of volatility, then you sleep well. And if you are doing like tradings, margin tradings, I doubt if you can sleep well. Yeah.
And you really have to stay on top of it all the time, because if you're just asleep for 1 minute, you might lose out.
Not really. If you are doing the technology, it's not like every minute you have a new technology emerge and then you have to learn about it. It's more like traditional business. Yeah.
Coming back to China and regulation, the regulators there, they have cracked down on digital coin issuance and also on crypto speculation. How worried are you that controls in China and the People's Bank of China, the regulators will further tighten the grip?
There are two things that have been banned in China. The first thing is ICO, issuing tokens to the general public to do fundraising. It's dangerous. It's encouraging speculation. And the second thing got banned is cryptocurrency exchange. You need a license to run a centralized exchange in China, but cryptocurrency it's not regulated yet, and it conflicts with capital control and other policies in China. So the PBOC and with other government departments decided to ban ICO and crypto exchange.
Do you think this is enough, or would you like to, have the central bank, the PBOC, regulate more areas at this point in time?
I think it's already the market, the maniac of the market has already been cooled down. So I think it's not that bad back to like several months ago. So I'm not expecting more strict regulations. Yeah.
You earlier said that NEO's blockchain system is faster than others and can have processed like 10,000 transactions per second, that is. But with this speed come a lot of risks, isn't it?
Currently, we can handle 1,000 transactions per second, and we are aiming at 100,000 transactions per second by 2020. So we still have 2 to 3 years to develop, to advance the technology.
And how can you speed up? What kind of technology are you using to boost transactions to that kind of volume and speed?
We have our own consensus mechanism. It's called DBFT. It's very good in the sense of speed, and also we can process those smart contracts transactions parallelly. We don't do it sequentially, so we can spread all the transactions. We can calculate those transactions at the same time. So that's how we improve the speed. Yeah.
Now we are standing here in a very green environment with plants, and you're wearing a green pullover as well. But Bitcoin mining and NEO currency mining, that uses a lot of energy and is harming the environment. How worried are you about this aspect, and what are you planning to do about it?
Yeah, actually with NEO, we don't do mining. There are several consensus, a dozen of consensus nodes. They reach consensus without doing the hashing, without consuming a lot of electricity. Yeah, but I think it boils down to the different design philosophy. Bitcoin is to mimic gold. It's like a digital gold. So you need to spend something, cost you something to get Bitcoin. But NEO is like the future network for a smart economy. So it's not, we don't try to be a currency. A NEO token is not, strictly speaking, it's not a cryptocurrency. It's more like a stake of the network. And we don't do mining. We are very eco-friendly. Yeah.
The Chinese government is also planning to start development zones of blockchain in China, in Hangzhou, in Shenzhen, in Guangzhou, for example, and also research institutes.
Yes.
If you imagine the blockchain, sphere in China in like 10 years down the road, how will China's blockchain system look like?
The biggest advantage of China is we have the biggest market in the world. There are so many people, so many business, and people are so hardworking. So I do believe China will be one of the most important player in the international community of blockchain. Yeah, I have a very strong belief in this statement. Yeah, we will be the biggest market and also biggest technology-driven country in the blockchain industry. Yeah.
In China, the government has come up with the term 中国梦, which means Chinese dream.
Yes.
What is your plan for the future, Hongfei?
Oh, that's a tough question. Yeah, my future plan. NEO's goal is to be the #1 or preferred or the best platform to build a decentralized application on it.
And your personal dream?
My personal dream is we want to build the infrastructure for the next generation economic system. Yeah.
Good luck with it. 多谢.
Thank you very
谢谢你，
much.
再见。
Yeah.